In the quiet moments of life, when the world slows down and the noise fades into silence, many of us find ourselves pondering the most profound question of all: what happens after we die? For centuries, civilizations have speculated, imagined, and theorized about the afterlife. But in Islam, this mystery is not left to speculation. It is explained with striking clarity, not only in the Qur'an, but through the words of the Prophet Muhammad. According to Islamic belief, death is not the end. It is merely a transition, a doorway from this fleeting world to another realm altogether, a realm called Barzakh. Barzakh is not the final destination, nor is it the day of judgment. It is what lies in between, a world we do not see, but one that is very much alive. It begins the moment the soul departs from the body. For some, this moment is peaceful, like drifting into sleep wrapped in comfort and light. For others, it is filled with pain, fear, and separation. Yet regardless of how it begins, every soul enters Barzakh, a hidden dimension, a barrier that separates the living from the dead and awaits the soul until the final hour. This unseen world is not merely a silent waiting room. It is a place of consequence. The deeds we perform in this life, every word spoken, every action taken, are not forgotten. In Barzakh, they begin to unfold before us. It is here that the soul meets the grave, is questioned by angels, and begins to taste the sweetness of paradise or the early signs of torment. It is a realm filled with mystery, fear, awe, and hope. And yet it is also filled with divine justice and mercy. In this script, we will journey through this hidden realm. What happens the moment a person dies? What do the angels say? What does the soul experience inside the grave? Is it aware of the world it left behind? And how can we, still living, prepare for what is to come? This is the story of Barzakh, the world between this life and the next, where the truth of our existence begins to unfold. Death is not simply the cessation of heartbeat or the final breath leaving the lungs. In Islam, it is a deeply spiritual event, an appointed moment when the soul is separated from the body, not by accident or coincidence, but by divine command. Allah has decreed an exact time for every soul, and when that moment arrives, it cannot be delayed, nor can it be brought forward. It is in this precise instant that the journey into the unseen begins. The Prophet Muhammad described death in vivid and moving detail, revealing how the experience differs dramatically between the believer and the disbeliever. When a righteous believer approaches death, angels with faces shining like the sun descend from the heavens. They come bearing a shroud and perfume from paradise, surrounding the dying person with serenity and light. Then comes the angel of death, known as Malak al-Maut. He sits near the believer's head and speaks gently, saying, "O pure soul, come out to the forgiveness and pleasure of your Lord." The soul, already yearning to return to its Creator, slips out effortlessly, like a drop of water gliding from the edge of a jug. There is no pain, no struggle, only peace. The angels immediately take the soul, wrap it in the heavenly shroud, and it is perfumed with the scent of Jannah. As they ascend through the layers of heaven, every group of angels they pass asks, "Who is this beautiful soul?" And they respond with the best names by which the person was known on earth. The gates of heaven open for the soul, and it is welcomed until it reaches the presence of Allah. Allah then commands, "Record the book of my servant in Iliyin, the highest register of the righteous, and return the soul to the earth, for from it I created them, into it I will return them, and from it I will raise them again." But for the disbeliever or the wicked soul, the scene is starkly different. As the moment of death approaches, angels with dark, terrifying faces descend. They do not bring comfort or light. Instead, they bring with them a coarse fabric from hell. The angel of death calls out, "O wicked soul, come out to the anger and wrath of Allah." The soul resists, clinging tightly to the body. It is torn out violently, like a thorny branch being pulled through wet wool, causing immense anguish. The angels seize it and wrap it in the coarse fabric, which emits a foul, unbearable stench. As they ascend, every group of angels asks, "Who is this evil soul?" And the reply comes in the worst names they were known by on earth. But the gates of heaven are not opened. The soul is rejected, and Allah commands, "Record the book of my servant in Sijin, the lowest register, and return the soul to the earth. The soul is then flung back down, falling like a stone, lost and afraid. Once returned to the grave, the soul enters the next phase of its journey. But even before the questioning begins, it has already experienced the weight of its deeds. The believer, embraced by divine comfort, begins to feel the joy of their righteousness. The disbeliever, however, already begins to taste the sorrow of a life lived without purpose, without submission to the truth. Death, then, is not the end. It is a beginning. It is the start of a journey into the unseen realms of Barzakh, where souls dwell until the day of judgment. Each soul, whether elevated or humiliated, enters this world carrying the consequences of a lifetime. And in that moment, the reality becomes clear. The veils of the world are lifted. The soul sees the truth it once heard about, but never truly grasped. The glories of faith or the horror of disbelief begin to manifest. And from that moment forward, there is no turning back. The journey has begun. After the soul is returned to the earth, after the final rites are complete, and the loved ones walk away from the grave with heavy hearts, a reality far beyond human perception begins to unfold. The soil may appear still, the grave may seem silent, but what takes place beneath is not silence. It is the beginning of Barzakh. This is the hidden world, the unseen realm between this life and the next. It is not a place of imagination or myth. It is real, confirmed by the Qur'an and the authentic words of the Prophet Muhammad. The word Barzakh itself means barrier or partition. It is mentioned in the Qur'an in Surah Al-Mu'minun, where Allah says, "And behind them is a barrier until the day they are resurrected." This barrier is unlike any wall built by human hands. It is a divine veil that separates the souls of the dead from the world of the living and holds them until the moment they are called back for judgment. But Barzakh is not a place of sleep or unconscious waiting. It is a realm where the soul is fully aware, conscious, observant, and either at peace or in distress, depending entirely on how it lived its life. Once the body is buried and the final handfuls of soil have been placed, the soul hears the footsteps of those walking away from the grave. Then, in a way unseen by the living, two angels descend into the grave. Their names are Munkar and Nakir. Their presence is awe-inspiring, and their appearance strikes fear in the hearts of those who were heedless of their Lord. They are not sent to frighten without reason. They are messengers of truth assigned by Allah to question every soul. They ask three questions. The first, who is your Lord? The second, what is your religion? And the third, what do you say about the man who was sent among you? For the righteous believer, these questions are not difficult. The answers flow naturally, as though drawn from the depths of the heart. My Lord is Allah. My religion is Islam. My prophet is Muhammad. Upon hearing this, the angels declare the truth of the soul's faith. A voice calls out from the heavens, "My servant has spoken the truth." And then the grave is expanded. Light enters from above, and a window is opened to paradise, allowing the soul to glimpse its place of eternal rest. The soul feels peace, serenity, and joy. It longs for the day of judgment, not out of fear, but out of anticipation to finally meet Allah and receive the eternal reward that was promised. But for the disbeliever, or the one who lived in hypocrisy, the story is tragic. When the angels ask their questions, the answers do not come. The soul stammers, confused and lost. I don't know," they cry. They may try to repeat what they once heard in life, but without true faith, the words do not carry weight. A voice then announces, "My servant has lied," and the torment begins. The grave tightens until the ribs interlock. Darkness surrounds the soul. A window to hell is opened, and scorching heat and foul air pour in. The soul is shown its place in the fire, and fear grips it. It begs for the hour never to come, wishing that judgment would be delayed forever, knowing what lies ahead. This experience in Barzakh is not a dream. It is not symbolic. It is real, and it is the first step of the eternal journey. What a person sees and feels in this realm reflects the state of their soul and the sincerity of their belief. The righteous find comfort and companionship. The sinful may find regret, punishment, and longing for a second chance they will never be granted. And so, Barzakh becomes the waiting station of souls. Time, as we know it, does not exist in the same way. Some may stay in this state for 1,000 years, others for a day, but each will wait until the appointed time when the trumpet is blown and all of creation is resurrected. Until then, the grave becomes either a garden from the gardens of paradise or a pit from the pits of hell. The veil of Barzakh holds the truth, and only the soul knows what lies beyond its barrier. For the righteous soul, the grave is not a place of terror. It is the beginning of comfort, the first taste of eternal peace. Though the body lies beneath the earth, the soul is cradled by divine mercy. The darkness of the grave does not frighten it. The stillness of the soil does not oppress it. Instead, a new reality unfolds, one that reflects the purity, faith, and sincerity the person carried throughout their life. It is a reality that brings joy to the soul, even in death. When the believer answers the questions of the grave correctly, declaring Allah as their Lord, Islam as their religion, and Muhammad as their prophet, a voice calls out from the heavens confirming, "My servant has spoken the truth." At that moment, the grave transforms. It is widened as far as the eye can see. It becomes filled with light. The soul is granted rest and serenity, unlike anything it experienced in the world. A window to paradise is opened, allowing the soul to see its final home, a garden lush with beauty, peace, and divine presence. Through that opening, a breeze from Jannah flows in. The fragrance, the gentle wind, the warmth of Allah's mercy, all of it reaches the soul, bringing a calm that words cannot describe. But the blessings of the grave go beyond the physical or even the spiritual sensations. The believer is granted companionship. A handsome man appears beside them in the grave, with a face shining like the moon. When asked who he is, the man replies, "I am your righteous deeds." Imagine that. The prayers, the fasts, the kindness, the moments of truth, patience, and sacrifice. All of them take form and become a companion in this lonely space. There is no abandonment, no isolation. The believer is not left alone. Their life has come back to stand by them as a friend, a comforter, a protector. The soul is told to rest like a groom who has completed his wedding day. It sleeps in peace, yet it is aware of the rewards, the promises, and the mercy of Allah. Some souls will even be allowed to roam freely in the heavens, visiting one another, rejoicing in the news of the living believers, praying for their loved ones, and looking forward to the day when they will be reunited. In certain narrations, the souls of martyrs are described as birds in the trees of paradise, free and joyful. Others are placed in green lanterns, hung beneath the throne of Allah. These are not fictions. These are glimpses of the unseen world as described by the Prophet. For the soul that lived in obedience, every moment in Barzakh becomes a source of contentment. Even though the day of judgment has not yet arrived, the soul is already tasting paradise. It has seen its place. It knows what is coming. There is no fear, only longing to finally meet Allah, to witness His face, to be admitted into the eternal gardens where no sorrow will ever touch them again. And so for the believer, death is not a tragedy. The grave is not a punishment. It is a doorway to comfort and reward. It is the beginning of what was promised. Their faith has carried them through life, and now it carries them through death. Barzakh for them is not a prison. It is a sanctuary, a place of hope, where they are gently held until the trumpet is blown and they rise again, ready to receive their final reward. In that waiting there is light. In that silence there is joy. In that grave there is bliss. While the grave offers peace and rest for the righteous, it is a place of dread and punishment for those who denied the truth. Those who mocked faith, ignored their responsibilities, or lived in rebellion against their Creator. For them, the journey into Barzakh begins not with light, but with terror. Their soul, having been snatched roughly from the body, returns to the grave only to face the consequences of a life spent heedless of the hereafter. When the soul is returned to the body, the same questions are asked by the two angels, Munkar and Nakir. But this time, the scene is different. The soul is shaken. There is confusion and fear. The questions that once seemed simple: who is your Lord? What is your religion? What do you say about the man who was sent among you? now become unbearable. The lips move, but no real answers come. The disbeliever or the hypocrite fumbles, saying, "I don't know. I heard the people say something, so I said the same." The voice from the heavens responds not with comfort, but with condemnation. "My servant has lied." And then the torment begins. The grave tightens around the body until the ribs press together, crushing and enclosing the person with unbearable pressure. Darkness envelops them. No light enters, no peace descends. Instead of a window to paradise, a portal to hell is open. From it comes heat, fire, and the stench of despair. The soul is forced to look at the place it would have occupied had it chosen to believe, only to be shown the place in hell that now awaits it. The pain is not only physical, it is emotional, spiritual, and psychological. Regret pours in like a flood. The soul remembers the warnings, the signs, the calls to truth it ignored, and now realizes they were not mere stories. They were reality. A hideous being then appears in the grave, its face twisted, dark, and terrifying. When the soul asks, "Who are you?" it replies, "I am your evil deeds." Every lie, every sin, every act of arrogance, cruelty, and disobedience takes shape and becomes a companion in the grave. This being does not offer comfort. It mocks, it haunts. It reminds the soul of the life it wasted and the opportunities it threw away. The soul tries to look away, but there is no escape. The punishment has begun, and it is only the beginning. In some narrations, a hammer made of iron is brought. If the soul could be seen from the outside world, the sound of that hammer striking would terrify all living creatures. Yet the soul alone bears it. The cries that come from the grave are not heard by human ears, but they are real, and the pain is severe. The Prophet Muhammad once said that if he were not worried about overwhelming his followers, he would ask Allah to allow them to hear the punishment of the grave. So terrifying was what he had been shown. The soul then remains in this state of suffering, unable to move forward or backward. Time becomes meaningless. Whether days or centuries pass, the torment continues. It is not the final punishment of hell, but it is a preview of what is to come. The soul is made fully aware of its fate, fully conscious of its loss. It begs for another chance, pleads for a return to life, but the time for repentance has ended. The gate is closed, the chance is lost. Now there is only waiting for the trumpet to blow, for the judgment to begin, and for the soul to be handed over to the justice it can no longer avoid. In the realm of Barzakh, the punishment of the grave is not a metaphor. It is not a dream. It is a real and terrifying phase of existence for those who turn away from the light of faith. And the warning is clear. The grave is either a garden from the gardens of paradise or a pit from the pits of hell. The choice lies not in death, but in life. And when that final moment comes, there will be no escape from the truth. Barzakh is a world unseen, yet its reality is firmly rooted in the fabric of the soul. Though the physical body lies buried, still and lifeless, the soul continues its journey in a realm that is neither this life nor the hereafter. It is not a state of unconscious sleep, but one of deep awareness. The soul feels joy, sorrow, peace, or torment based on the life it once lived. In this realm, the soul is more alive than it ever was in the material world. It is free from the limitations of flesh, time, and space, existing in a dimension where the rules of the physical world no longer apply. For the righteous soul, life in Barzakh is filled with light, rest, and anticipation. The soul finds itself in the company of other believing souls. They gather, they speak, they rejoice in the memory of their worldly lives and their shared faith. In certain narrations, it is said that when a new soul arrives in Barzakh, the others welcome it like a traveler returning home. They ask about their loved ones still on earth, and if told that someone has not yet arrived, they understand the person may have taken a different path. These exchanges are not dreams or imagination. They are spiritual gatherings in a realm designed by Allah, a place where the soul continues to grow, reflect, and wait for the final hour. There are souls that wander freely, who have been granted permission to move through the layers of the heavens and even visit the earthly realm. Though the physical barrier remains, the soul is no longer bound by the body's limitations. In some cases, righteous souls may visit their loved ones in dreams, bringing comfort or subtle messages. These are not ordinary dreams. They are glimpses from Barzakh, veiled in symbolic language, meant to guide or remind those still living. A mother may dream of her late child smiling in white garments, or a friend may see a departed loved one speaking words of advice. These moments are not to be taken lightly, for they may come from a world closer to truth than the one we live in. But just as the righteous soul finds comfort, the sinful soul may find itself in a Barzakh filled with loneliness, fear, or restlessness. Cut off from peace, these souls may not rest at all. Their torment continues, and they are not welcomed by the righteous. If allowed to visit the world of the living, their presence may come in the form of nightmares or haunting visions, not to harm, but as a reflection of their own suffering. Some scholars have mentioned that the souls of the wicked are confined, restricted, unable to roam as freely as the believers. Their state in Barzakh mirrors their rejection of truth during life, a continuation of the distance they place between themselves and Allah. And yet, for both the believer and the sinner, the soul remains aware of the world it left behind, aware of the loved ones who pray for them or forget them, aware of the legacy they left behind. The soul can hear the footsteps as the living walk away from the grave. It can feel the mercy that descends with each supplication made in sincerity. The living, though unable to see, play a part in the comfort of the dead. Charity, prayers, Qur'an recitation, and good deeds offered on behalf of the deceased reach them in Barzakh like gifts, lightening their burden or adding to their joy. This phase between death and resurrection is long, and yet it is not without connection. Life continues, not in the way we understand it, but in a form that transcends what eyes can see and hands can touch. The soul waits, watches, and remains tethered to the divine decree. Until the trumpet is blown and the heavens are split, until the graves are overturned and every soul is raised, Barzakh remains the mysterious in-between, a veil, a waiting place, and a reminder that death is not the end. It is a continuation of a journey every soul was created to complete. The grave is not the final chapter. It is the doorway to a new existence, one that unveils the truth behind every action, every intention, every moment we lived on this earth. What happens there is not a mystery left to imagination. It is a certainty, described in the words of Allah and explained by His messenger. In Barzakh, the soul finds either rest or regret. The soil that once felt lifeless becomes a witness. The darkness that once seemed empty becomes filled with either divine light or the weight of one's deeds. And so the question is no longer what happens in the grave. It is what we are doing now to prepare for it. Life is fleeting. No matter how long we live, no matter how high we rise, it all ends with a return to the dust from which we came. What remains is not our wealth, status, or possessions, but our faith, our worship, our kindness, and our sincerity. Every prayer, every act of patience, every tear shed in repentance builds our home in the unseen. The grave will reflect the life we live today. It will greet us with the face of our deeds, either beautiful or hideous, comforting or horrifying. But Allah's mercy is vast. He has given us countless opportunities to prepare, to remember death not with dread, but with purpose, to give, to forgive, to turn back to Him before the soul is taken. Visiting graves, reflecting on the hereafter, and staying mindful of the eternal journey softens the heart and brings the soul back to its rightful focus. One day, each of us will lie beneath the earth, alone in body, but not alone in soul. What we send ahead will remain with us. And so we live, not just for this world, but for the next. The grave is coming, but with faith, repentance, and sincerity, we can ensure it welcomes us with peace.